At this time, we'll call the Tuesday, June 14th, 2022 meeting of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors to order. Larry McDevitt, Mike Steinus, and myself, Jack Willie, are your supervisors. We have Lisa Smith and Bjorn Beck from the auditor's office, and the wife will be our administrative assistant. First item on the agenda this morning is Mike Clausen, Jackson County Assistant Engineer. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. The first thing I have is a underground utility permit for cloud USA telecommunication services. It's in Farmers Creek, section 12. Place a fiber optic on the north side of 75th Street. Yes, the word.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the utility permit from Cloud USA. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Okay, that's actually the only thing
I
I
was
have.
gonna say, the rest of this page is empty.
One thing I want to talk about, I guess, is the bridge out here. On Friday, they're going to be bringing beams in to set for the first section. And when they should be here around 10 o'clock, somewhere in that range. They're going to stop traffic for 10, 15 minutes, set a beam, and then let traffic through, get caught up, and then they'll pull the next truck in. So there'll be some delays on Friday morning.
So are we letting KMQ know that?
Well, that came if you
Yeah.
know that, and I've talked to Frank Ellens with the city, who's putting it on their Facebook page.
Good. That'd be good. Okay,
Yeah, they can't, you left the money to do what they need.
well, I just thought if it came out Tuesday and he didn't know it.
Sure, we'll put it on our Facebook though, and our
Okay,
website.
great,
Yeah.
great, thank you. Okay,
Otherwise, it's progressing, I heard.
Seems to be working all right with lights. traffic.
yeah, you know, it hasn't been much of a wait.
The only issue we had yesterday was the ambulance was going through. They went into town fine, but when they came back, the traffic coming from the south was waiting for the ambulance. So the ambulance got held up. Wish that people would pay more attention. They could see the ambulance coming and hear the sirens.
I have a question on the Cascade west of Otter Creek. It's last summer we did some patching for that, or what, do you know when they're gonna do that
They said they'd be here this fall.
this fall? I think wrong,
It is.
yeah,
It's patching.
yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do that, and then E17 between Andrew and Highway 61,
And that's rough too.
between Andrew and Springwood. All three of those roads are on the same.
I seen they were marked, yeah. Okay, I didn't know when we had that scheduled, but
Yeah, they're supposed to have it done by October, I believe, or mid-October
Okay.
of this year is what put on. Anything else?
they cool.
Sounds good, yeah.
You on the bridge today?
I'll be out there for a little bit. Ron.
I guess
Oh.
Okay, actually, the next agenda, we're a little early, but it's visitors or citizens. Anybody? Darla, did you have anything you wanted to say or just
No,
here to
just-
observe?
Just to observe.
Welcome.
Nothing to do today, darling. You just come over and hang with us for a while.
Yeah.
Luann, do you want to do your
Sure.
part since Marty isn't here yet?
I don't know about Marty. I got a message from Marty this morning. He was up at the care facility spraying. They were going to start the leveling of ground there and the filter. They thought maybe that it was, grass was a little long and it had come up in chunks.
Okay, he does.
He shows up with everyone.
Could have called Luann or they said, let him know that he wanted to be taken off the agenda.
Okay.
He sent me a text. I will say, Marty sent me a text,
Oh.
said that he told you the same thing. So, I mean, but it
So
appeared to
we
me
will
like he was,
probably not be here.
well, he said he might be running late. He didn't say he wasn't
He's
coming.
gonna try to beat the heat a
Yes.
little bit, get back
Yeah.
here. So.
Yeah.
I drove by the building down by the fairgrounds where the parking lot went in. That grass is looking really good. And even around the new building, the grass is coming up good too. So, he mowed it yesterday. So. Blowing it out. It looked pretty.
Talking about the fairgrounds, have you heard anything from Beckwith as to when they might do the road? Are they gonna try to do it before the fair or after?
Yeah, after the fair.
Okay. Sorry that we have.
Okay.
Good morning.
I had to be here, so. Okay, calendar this week. Couple of additions to make to the calendar. 4:45 this afternoon is a special conservation board meeting on next on the budget, correct? Out at Hurstville, and that's for Larry. Tomorrow, Wednesday, June 15th at 10 a.m. is a Pelican River Watershed Management Authority executive meeting by Zoom, also for Larry. That evening at 6:30 is the Municipal League meeting, and that will be in Bellevue for Mike. Thursday, June 16th is the Limestone Loves RC&D meeting. That time has changed to 6 o'clock, and it will be by Zoom only. That's for Jack. Friday, June 17th at noon is a DCAT meeting by Intuit or by Zoom for Mike, and that is an hour earlier than usual. Monday, June 20th at 1 p.m. is a Waste Authority of Jackson County meeting for Mike. At 3 p.m. is the Regional Governing Board meeting in Davenport for Jack. At 7 o'clock is the Together We Build meeting here in town for Jack. And at 4 o'clock is an early childhood Iowa budget meeting by Zoom, also for Jack. Our next regular meeting will be on Tuesday, June 21st at 9 a.m. And that evening will be at 6 o'clock will be the regular Conservation Board meeting in Hurstville for Larry.
The municipal meeting, that's Wednesday, you said at 6, did it say where? Have that one in my,
It just came yesterday. I
okay,
emailed it to you yesterday.
all right,
It's at the Second Street Station in Bellevue.
And that's for everybody, right?
right.
Everybody got an invitation to it. That's
Yeah.
correct.
And
Really just like, yes.
I will not be available. If somebody wants to sit in there.
When is it?
What's Wednesday?
Tomorrow night. Wednesday
It's
the
the League of
15th.
Mayors.
Oh, okay.
We're supposed to let them know by today if we're coming, so I will let you know after I check my
Okay,
other schedule.
the envelope on your desk, Larry. They sent an invitation to everybody this time.
Okay.
That's all I have for you.
Still have. You have some business you want to do before we do the canvas?
I can't, because we also have a budget hearing today, so I can do part of my business today, and then we'll have to wait. So this morning, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the June 7th, 2022 work proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspapers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve previous minutes being published. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
I'm going to ask the board's permission for something a little bit unusual. Today, I would like to have a motion to approve a handwritten warrant to Scott County for a yet to be determined amount to clear out the mental health fund. The purpose of this request is so the check can be written, and we will probably make sure that we take the check to Scott County so it can be deposited down there and redeemed in our treasurer's office before the end of the fiscal year. And then next week, I will give you the exact amount of what the warrant was written for. We want to make sure that we write the check in this fiscal year and the check clears in this fiscal year. So we're waiting for payroll to be done, so we can know how much money is left in the fund. We've also been working with the treasurer's office and having her do her month-end apportionment and doing an estimate. So there's a lot of workings going on to get this account down to zero by the end of the month, end of the fiscal year.
Got an estimate about where it is?
Because I don't know what the estimate is for property taxes that have come in.
Sure.
Yeah. No, we've already written a check for 500,000. Then we were just short of 200,000. done payroll, so all of the payroll and the benefits have to come out of that. And then we'll bring in the tax money to come up with an amount.
So there will be a zero balance in there.
That's what we're working.
110 will be zero.
So when come July first, I mean, the rollover, the payroll for Lynn and whatnot, and this and that.
Nope.
That'll come out of the general fund. And then
Right.
we will,
That's why, so. this is-
quarterly, we will
This is a
bill
payroll
them
week. Yep.
for their
Okay.
salary, their office space, their
Okay, so it don't come from the
benefits.
state.
So this is this payroll that we're doing this week is in this fiscal year.
Right.
The next one will be in next fiscal year. So that's why we're trying to get everything to be cleared out, to be down to zero in this fiscal year. And that's why I don't know the exact amount. Payroll is being done now. Then we'll take out for the health, all the insurances and the payroll deductions and such. And hopefully we'll know by Friday. And Beth's gonna do an estimate of what that incoming amount is from taxes. And we want to physically, we're gonna write the check down so it gets deposited. So we can hopefully get this to be deposited and redeemed for this fiscal year.
I would make a motion to approve the handwritten warrant for undetermined amount.
I will hopefully have more next week to tell you.
You will.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I guess as long as we have it all documented, whatever.
We
Oh,
do,
yeah.
we're gonna pass auditing. Everything is in there,
Yeah,
clear what
that's
we
what I-
did, why,
that's
and
what I-
that's why I'm asking permission to do this today with, I will tell you what we did next week.
So I just,
Yeah.
the tax thing is the whole, but you don't know.
There are some issues there, because honestly, that apportionment doesn't get done until probably later on, because effective July 1st, the levies and such aren't in. So when money gets, that it actually gets held.
But if somebody pays their taxes delinquently too, won't you have to reimburse that?
That's why we're doing an estimate now.
Okay.
There's a program on our software for our accounting side, tax side, that will do an estimate. We're doing the best we can to make that, tax sale obviously is next Monday.
Properties are on that.
I haven't looked at that yet, and I asked Beth the other day, usually she says that she sells right around $100,000. I mean, we're just a percentage of a percent of taxes that are delinquent. Having only $100,000 to sell is one. So the bulk of those taxes have been paid, and honestly, of that 100,000, the bulk of them are gonna get paid. I mean, we're gonna traditionally when that goes to tax sale, and Beth can speak to that more than I can. But traditionally, when property goes on tax sale, it gets sold. There are some obviously that do not for various reasons, but the bulk of those get sold.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the renewal of a Class C liquor license with outdoor service and Sunday sales to Bluff Lake at 9301 95th Avenue, Wacota, effective July 18th, 2022 through July 17th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
I would second.
A motion and a second to approve the Class C liquor license for Bluff Lake. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Need a motion to approve a cigarette permit to SKN Gas and Food or the Otter Creek Stop at 18820 Bellevue Cascade Road, Zwingle, effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the cigarette permit for SNK Gas and Food in Otter Creek. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carried.
I am going to have Shelley come over so she can discuss the interfund operating transfer. I know this is something that she's been working on. We are kind of coming down to the end of the fiscal year here. This is something that she will be discussing. Just handed them the colored sheet, Shelley, and I said that you could explain it. Thank you.
Throwing you under the bus,
This
right?
time-
Right.
This time we're being joined by Shelley Boyd.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, background.
back in fiscal year 2021. So February, I think it was February 24th of 2021. We got a supplemental payment from the state for COVID money. They had done their initial disbursement to the counties and the cities in November of 2020. Then they decided that not everybody, since not everybody requested their full amount, they were going to disperse the remaining money to the counties. And so when we got, and that was in February of 2021. So then when we got that money, not sure what happened. I had a brain fade and we put it under the courthouse capital projects fund by mistake. So when the auditors were here, they caught it. And so this is to take that money out of that capital projects fund and disperse it according to the same percentages that Becky dispersed it when we got that initial payment in November 2020. So it should be the same percentages of disbursements. And so on this colored sheet, the initial money was, that's how it should, those are the line items that it should be on in the blue. That it should be dispersed as on those line items. The in the pink for the expenses, that's where I put it initially. So the green is where we are dispersing it for this year. So the green corresponds to the figures on the operating transfer.
It's clear as mud, yeah. So do we have any allocations for this money, or when is there a time limit, or when is the time frame up?
This is helping to alleviate the extra expenses that we had for COVID, to
Okay.
deal with COVID. So salaries, any
Supplies,
supplies, equipment that we,
any expenses.
The treasures.
disinfectant?
barriers, all the barriers that
Whatever
we
we
had.
did to eliminate the possibility of contact.
Yes,
And what's in the green, is that the balance?
no, that's the percentages that I used
Okay,
to
allocate
disperse,
each one.
yes, correctly.
So we're talking about $125,983.13.
Yes. And this resolution will disperse it according to those figures in that green column under department share. And the line items that those figures, those amounts will go to the line items in the blue.
So we're just doing this because of auditing purpose and it's required, and
Yes,
we have no concerns or
right.
thoughts
So it's
about the
dispersed,
funds. And-
right.
yeah,
so we expend it the way the money was intended
right,
instead of the capital improvements.
that would make sense.
So if you would like to, I need a motion to approve resolution 900-06-14-2022 for an interfund operating transfer to correct fund balances.
I would second. We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution 90-06-14-22. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
And unfortunately, we have been scheduled for a 10 o'clock public hearing on the budget amendment and canvassing of the last week's primary election at 10:10.
What are we gonna do till then?
You can have Lori come down.
That'd be fine if she's available. I know she wishes to address us.
Tell me, Lisa, the canvassing of that, we can't see any of that prior we go to that public hearing. I mean, just to review the, yeah. Okay, so we take a recess and read.
Yeah, you can look through all of this.
I did,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I like to read through that.
What I thought I would do today is to show you how we came up with the figures. I was
Yeah.
just gonna kind of do but yes, you're more than welcome. Anybody's, it's public. Anybody can look through this. Just don't take it.
No, I just thought we had some time in between.
Yeah, so no, if you want to review all of that, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, well, we're waiting. Nancy, you haven't been here in person for a long time. Is there any questions that you have?
Just so I am gonna put something up about the bridge. So just say on Friday, traffic may be delayed a little longer,
Your best bet on Friday is to go around town.
go around town. Yeah. Okay, yep.
Yeah, and I don't think they can give you exact time frame. You know, it's gonna be.
So I'll
hit and
just
miss
say Friday.
With that heavy equipment, you know, and some of them beams, you can't have anybody.
And then maybe I'll call, I don't know, or maybe I will put in something to people to be mindful about emergency vehicles to
That'd
really
be great.
watch
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
try to get out of the way.
Or respect them anyway.
Yeah. No, it's nice to be here in person. Zoom is really great and convenient, but it's not like being here in person.
Well, I can never see your reaction on.
With that being said, at this time of recess, till
Yeah.
1:25. Lori, who are zoning administrator.
Good morning.
Hi, guys. I sent you a email. Sorry it was out so late.
The other copies on the desk.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. So anyway, I've added to it, but we'll get to that. So, one of the big things has been, zoning nuisances. And Bjorn, would you just pull those up and we'll start with that right now, the Leisure Lake one. Now, the one that he's gonna pull up are pictures on Pine Street.
So I'm taking for this LLPOA is Leisure Lake Property Owners Association or something like that.
Yeah, so I talked to you about some of the nuisances that we had. This was one that, the notice was sent out before I started, it was sent out on May 4th. This is one of the three, there was no response from, as far as the certified letter. And since my computer was down last week, I got to go for a drive and finally check on some of these. And the property that's, it was also reported last May. And a certified letter was sent, there was no response, and it went bye-bye. So nothing was done on this at all. And
And
it's
we're
been-
talking about the complaint because of all of the vehicles in the back of the property.
Well, there's more. There's,
Hey, the grass is beautiful.
yes, I just take good pictures.
Yeah, that's, okay.
But
But
there's,
take it from a distance too, yeah.
Yeah, that was
In
at a
your car,
distance.
That's a good idea.
that's broken. I didn't want to get out there.
I don't blame you.
That's a broken down bus, which is one of plenty broken down vehicles. The pallets are huge, and it looks like there's also a home-based business being ran there. I found, where part of the evidence that was presented back for the notice that went out in May had the gentleman's business card for pallet salvage. So basically, he's doing M2 work, M2 operations in Leisure Lake,
Residential.
pretty much. So I have reached out to, finally got to talk to somebody in Leisure Lake. Yeah, that's just some of it.
Yeah, where to go get them.
That's in Leisure Lake.
In Leisure Lake.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't.
You stand on your head when you took that or what?
That must have been.
She was hanging out the window.
Steering with my toes.
You didn't reverse the camera once. so you
I
got-
don't know how I did that.
That's okay.
But yeah, it's, boy, guys, I haven't been up there in 16 years, and I was driving through there, I had to call my husband to say, oh my gosh, I haven't, yeah, but
You
anyway,
should drive to the west side, like right around 4th of July.
yeah, it was interesting. But anyway, so I did get to make contact with Damian from he's the current president of Leisure Lake Property Owners Association. I told him basically, we could use a little assistance up there in trying to get these things taken care of. And in turn, he told me, well, we'd like to have some support from the community.
You know, this was been a couple, 3 years ago, but when I went to an association meeting up there, they asked if I would come. And I did, and I didn't know at the time, or I still don't, what the county can actually do. But I suggested to them as a community, they have a POA association, that they have basically a cleanup week, let's all get together and we'll get a couple dump trailers and we're gonna go around clean the community up, we want everybody's support. I said it kind of falls on their hands.
Yeah,
I don't know what we can do as a county.
so I'm not sure either. Would it fall under our normal zoning? I mean, even though it's technically private property, yes, but then again, anybody's land that you're asking them to clean up their junk on is private
Well,
property.
it's unincorporated, so I guess
Yeah.
it's still county,
County.
it's us. But
So,
does it just fall under nuisance or does it, I mean, obviously, if he's doing a business out of there, that's not
that's a
legal.
different thing too, yeah. Yeah, and I stumbled on that business
Yeah.
card was buried in the packet when I was going through it yesterday. I'm like, oh, so we got a double whammy.
Have you had a chance to talk to Sarah about that?
I wanted to bring her in and I told her a little bit ago I was gonna come talk to her, but I didn't make it down there before the meeting yet. But that was one of the things I told Damien, I'd like to, talk to you guys and our county attorney and see then about bringing in the Leisure Lake Property Owners Association and all of us collectively to see what we can do as one unit. And see who's supporting who, see who the financial impact's gonna come back on to when there's issues that aren't complied with.
I guess we've always been willing to work with the Leisure Lake group, and if they wanna call a joint meeting between us and them, we'll come up to Leisure Lake and
Okay.
meet with them on that site and
Okay,
see what we can do, because
Okay.
obviously that's our biggest nuisance area
yes,
is Leisure Lake, and those that keep their property, they don't like it, and I wouldn't like it either, so if you wanna talk to them and tell them that we'll come up and meet jointly with them to see what kind of answers we can come up with or solutions to the problems they have, but those people that have the problems have to be willing to cooperate as well.
that have to take the hard, well, it's my neighbor, I don't want any problems, they have to take that hard step. And then
They don't
two,
like it, but they won't take the step to eliminate it.
right, and then two, is it gonna be a location wide we have to talk about? Or is it, right now it's complaint driven.
Well, yeah, complaint driven and each individual situation is a one-on-one almost.
But
It's
could
too
you
bad that there's
hit
that
it as
many.
Could you hit it as a whole, because it's about 50%.
I would say that we need to hit it as a whole and
Yeah.
make people aware that, we haven't had a complaint on this, but we do know there are other areas of the Leisure Lake Property Association's jurisdiction that need some attention.
And then,
Get a copy of their covenants. And maybe have Sarah
Well,
look through it, you read through
They
it too.
they
and
would
just
have
see what-
bylaws, I would think, or association.
They
would
do,
think.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be tough to have a sweep it all into a truck, but,
Just get 3 or 4 semis,
well, they need to have a
this
little more,
location,
they need to have a little more authority in their association if they could. Yeah, again, just like Jack said, we'd be willing to help, but financially, a nuisance is a nuisance. If they don't clean it up, then we clean it up and charge them. or assess them.
It goes on their taxes.
Yeah.
all
And
right,
we already know, we usually have several properties at Leisure Lake that are on the tax rolls.
okay. And there, it sounds like there's also, I had mentioned the one light nuisance, talked to Sarah about that one, where there was an official
Yep.
complaint.
Yes,
We did not do anything with that one, because it did not fit within the way our current ordinance is written. So if it was something that was actually physically on the property that was causing the nuisance, she said you'd have better grounds to do it. Like if it was fish guts, that's something that's, on the grounds, that's. a
Okay, where
nuisance.
does quality of life come in?
I know, I agree.
Does law enforcement have any authority? Nothing, there's nothing that we could fall back on.
To our knowledge,
Yeah,
it,
And that certainly is quality of life.
And then there's also, it sounds like maybe other issues between those two particular neighbors.
Well, that usually didn't work down.
Oh, that's usually, yeah,
Visually
visually.
fence permits, stick with the fence.
Yeah, oh gosh,
Up
yeah.
12 foot high.
Oh, they get any permits in there to get a fence?
Well, I give one just to.
So anyway, so my second one's the pictures of some of the non-compliance, which I am gonna try to get today or tomorrow at the latest, get the sheriff's office to serve notices on that one, since they didn't respond to the certified letter. And then I mentioned during the last time I talked to you about the 3 nuisances. Well, what we're talking about now is the leisure like one that never responded to the certified letter. As Mike knows, the one up on Highway 52, they didn't respond to their letter, but they knew there was something going on, they got it cleaned up. So that one's been resolved. It looks amazing, yeah. And then the one out at the country club that had a huge debris pile that kept getting bigger, this posted ratio. And then people just started adding other junk to it. Well, they finally got that resolved. And talking to their manager, they're looking at doing an annual burn in the middle of winter instead of waiting and waiting. So looking at doing an annual burn.
Anything to make the lady that lives out there happy. 'Cause she
Well,
was not happy.
No, and then at the same time, their removal, their mitigation practice got us several phone calls too. Because it's older for almost 2 weeks, yeah.
Mhm.
Can't they take that brush to the city landfill like everybody else does?
They're in the county,
Did you look at it?
Yeah, so. Wow.
they're in the county.
Oh, they're in the.
They could have sold firewood.
They sure
There was so
could have.
much.
I sure could have. And just talking to people or having people come in my office, like the guy that came in last week, and it's like, well, I didn't know this was gonna be a problem. I just came in to pick up the permit. My concrete guy's probably gonna be there tomorrow. People don't realize that there's a timeline, and then too, if it's not that all perfect situation, there could be other things that are gonna slow them down. And not get that permit. And most people, well, I've talked to several, and it's like, well, don't you just give me the permit and I can build? And it's like, no, kind of got to check a few other things.
So
So,
there's a process, and it might be a good idea for you to get on Just Talking someday.
well, that's where I was going with this. So I was just gonna make sure I had your blessing.
Yeah, I thought that your article and getting on camera, you is an excellent.
Okay, all right.
Tell me you might need an hour, not just a half hour.
You're saying I talk a lot, or
No, there's
I have a lot of
things people don't
information?
talk There's a lot of things people don't realize.
Yeah, and maybe not right now. I don't know if I could talk for an hour, just because there's so much I don't know. So I don't wanna just ramble.
I was just kidding.
Well, why could I talk for an hour if I know what I'm talking about?
Well, even explaining the process, the whole inspection and the public hearing thing and the dates and the timeframe is, I hear it every so often that time.
Oh, I should have brought that.
I mean, public hearing is what can, what the date.
Yeah, we've actually worked up a timeline that kind of shows when our monthly meetings are set for the commission and for the zoning board of adjustment. And then we have to have that minimum of 10 to 20 days for the public notice to be published, which of course we have a once a week publication newspapers. So that kind of adds to our time. And then we want at least 4 days, 5 days in front of that publication date to have the material in front of us so we can actually put good information in the paper, which, comes out to almost a month. So, someone that's given us something right now,
That wants the concrete for tomorrow.
yep, they want to come to the board tomorrow, and I'm telling them it's July 27th or whatever, or 24th, whatever our date is. So they don't quite understand.
So they want a variance.
If that's the case, yeah, if that was a variance, yeah.
If it was not, they complied and everything.
Then I can maybe, depends on how much is in front of me. I'd like to be able to approve a permit in 2 or 3 days, in a perfect world. right now, there was some on my desk that were over there for over 2 weeks. I did stumble across one in the computer that I didn't have any hard copies on that was dated for May 4th. And so I reached out to him immediately and got that one approved. I came in this weekend just I wanted to see what it looked like or felt like to have my queue cleaned out for building permits. It's cleaned out.
How did it feel?
It feels good. Then it looks good. So anyway, but yes, so things don't happen just like that. And the one guy that actually came in, there was some concerns around setbacks. And then he's just like, well, I know people in town that are building on the property line. I said, well, we're not in town. So, but he did set that. And here, speaking of that, I'm not a surveyor, you guys. And I don't think you expect the zoning officer to be a surveyor.
You know,
So basically, I'm looking at the plats, where I can, seeing, if that survey goes to the center line, looking at that plat, see if it's a 33-foot right away or if it's a 66-foot right away. So, in those 33-foot right of ways, you know that you have to go back 40 feet behind that right of way. So I'm, trusting the property owners on this, you guys. So,
Yep.
or some in the
No, I mean,
R2's
yeah,
30
the One
feet.
guy's gonna tell you, well, wherever I mow the grass. That's the problem.
No,
Yeah.
but at the same time, how much, do you want me to be laying eyes on these and, giving my uneducated opinion?
Well, if there's a conflict on the border, have them located. I mean, have a surveyor come out, put the pins in it.
Well, that would be their
Flag.
offense, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but at the same time, we don't know that there's a conflict with property owners until after the fact. They're telling us they're meeting their 5-foot setback, for an accessory structure. After it's set, the neighbor comes in and says, no, they're
and
1
that's,
foot.
and that's when you'll get it,
Yeah,
after
but,
it's already set, and they'll say, no, that's not right.
mhm. So,
Well, bottom
but-
line is, we do have parameters and we need to follow to keep it.
Yeah, but-
conform.
but I'm not a surveyor. And so I'm trusting a lot of times what they're telling me is accurate and correct.
They may have to do a survey.
Yeah,
but-
I don't know how many times that will come into play, but
No.
yeah, we'll
Okay.
have to play each case.
All right, but so they built too close. They've done a survey and now it's like, oh yeah, it really is too close. Then you just grant them a variance. I don't know. So anyway, and then how far back are you guys willing to go, or should we be going on, say setbacks or no permit violations? I have one I haven't researched very well yet, that the neighbors allegedly built 2 foot from the property line.
And did they have a permit?
I don't know yet. It goes back to
Well, I
2016.
guess that depends on your
Sure.
time.
2016.
8 years ago. Don't think what it was.
I mean, again, your time allotment means when you can get this work in or not.
Right. Right, and that's big, it's just time management thing.
I'd say to keep up moving forward here, going forward, and then if there's issues with it, if somebody.
If there's an issue like that, it should
I don't think we're
probably be resolved at the date of sale. If we go sell it.
Okay.
That there would be a flag in there.
I personally think that you should go back as long as you worked here.
Oh, I love
I
that.
mean, I don't think that you are responsible for what your predecessor did.
Okay.
And I don't think we're out looking for something.
No.
No, the use of this comes back down to a neighbor being mad at a neighbor and now that they're
And I realize that, but it's not your fault.
correct.
And
And then
I
we'll
think-
address it.
Okay.
I would,
All
I
right,
would say anything after you started, you would be responsible to go back and work. But before that, there's not a thing you can do about it.
And anything else should show up when you go to transfer it. If it doesn't, nobody flags it there, then it's
Okay.
history.
and then too, I know Jess, the assessor's office just occasionally finds things. I just send a letter nicely and say, hey, you guys still need to get a permit. And then just hope their setbacks are good.
If they contact you with some information, you should follow through.
Okay, which I recently
Sure,
we have,
sure.
yeah. And there were people I knew, it was pick up the phone call and say, friend, let's do this. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. New vehicle research. So We have $25,000 allotted in the 2022-23 budget for a vehicle. So I've done a little research. And, kind of looked at used, but at the same time, it's just hard to compare apples to apples on used vehicles, because you're looking at a different package. You're looking at a 2019 with this many miles, or a 2014 with the same amount of miles. I mean, it's just hard. So I kind of started focusing more on what we could get in that price range for a new vehicle. And Tills can get us an all-wheel drive Chevy Trailblazer and this is with the state bid assistance for $23,935. So under the allotted budget. Deary could get us a Chevy Trailblazer that's front wheel drive and not all-wheel drive. And it didn't look like they were, the cheapest one they were gonna be able to get was $29,600, so about $6,000 difference. They did call me back about it was a Buick Encore, which is smaller than the Chevy Trailblazer. It's like the size of a Chevy Trax, and it's kind of like, oh my gosh. So, but they could get that for
No, they're
$26,000.
not that small.
They're small.
I had one for 2018. I just bought a new one and I love them.
The Geo Tractor?
I had a tracker. I had a, no,
Oh,
I had
or
an
a Chevy
Encore.
Tractor, excuse me.
A Buick
okay.
Encore.
Okay,
And I just bought a new Buick Encore XL.
okay,
It's a little bit bigger.
a little bit bigger.
That's
Okay.
all right.
No, front wheel.
Okay.
So how are these doing for mileage?
The ones I was looking at, I have, actually, I bring my phone, but I was looking at the one, I went and looked at the one in Till's parking lot, and it was 28 miles to the gallon for a highway.
And that's for over.
No, that was all-wheel drive.
So,
Well,
have you looked at the one from Tills?
I did, I was up there.
So I guess what I'm thinking in the back of my head here, procurement allows us to go out and purchase this, or do we put a spec sheet together? See, I'm looking for a vehicle like this. Do they bid on it? We open the bids and this.
We've done it both ways.
Right.
She did ask me about that.
She's under, yeah, we're under that threshold. Yeah. I mean, to me, it sounds like a great price, but just so we're following the dot.
I just said do your due diligence to talk to different.
Yeah.
You get a new
And I did.
vehicle with full warranty
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
they're selling
and
used
good
vehicles.
mileage. That's
Okay.
awesome.
They're selling used vehicles for more than new, so that's,
They are.
they are,
They
they
are.
certainly are. They're just, it's just the way the world is.
So, it just so you know, I checked with Tills, Deary, and Rotman, and Rotman's just like, good luck.
If you can put something down on the whole of that,
Okay. Okay,
I mean, fiscal year is,
so
It really needs to happen.
I have checked with the auditor's office, and if I can use $1,000 out of this year's budget to hold it, I can. Which I have the money.
So it's next year's budget.
it is,
Right.
but it starts at 3 weeks or 2 weeks.
But I can still hold it with this year's money. Okay.
Well, but that's.
And,
okay with the
okay,
auditor.
and so you guys are good with the Chevy trick. Is there something we can work out, Lisa?
They may not even require that. If
Okay.
you tell them that you're gonna, in 2 weeks,
You
you're
have to
gonna
wait
buy
till
it,
the new fiscal
they may
year,
not even
pay for
require
it.
the $1,000.
No, they.
They'll let you.
Okay. Okay.
So I would say,
I'd
as a
be
Michelle,
shocked if they didn't.
I think once you give them confirmation that you're going to purchase the vehicle.
Okay.
That would be mine.
Okay. And, I didn't know if you guys wanted to go that small, so I did kind of reach out again too, and just ask them about the next step up, which would be like the Equinox size vehicle. And Tills could be in that 26 range to 29 range, depending on the package. And Jerry's is sending me some information and trying to get us to
I mean, I'm
finance.
comfortable with the Trailblazer. If you are, I would say that's a decent vehicle and it's certainly.
And the all-wheel drive works
Yeah.
good for what you're doing.
Yeah, and I was
I
looking.
mean, you're not gonna haul a truckload of stuff around. So.
No, and I was looking for front, all-wheel drive versus front, and that's where Deary's was coming in on that Trailblazer, was just all front-wheel drives, but they had some really great packages for us. So,
You get heat there, that's about what you need.
that's
Yeah, I
good,
was
I got it.
after somebody hit my Jeep, and they gave me a front-wheel drive. One of these little van things or something like that. And I had it for about 3 weeks. I bet I got stuck 4 or 5 times with that thing. I mean, even on flat ground.
Everything if you're traveling around the county, all-wheel drive would be more appropriate, and if you can make arrangements with Tills to hold it for the new fiscal year.
Okay.
I would proceed.
Excellent. Okay. You guys have been talking about data management between offices, office communication and workflow. It looks like, because I'm getting all kinds of phone calls from people, different vendors, literally from that Christina had started working on that. And, you know, these people from Utah calling you that said they're local while you're in the country. But we already have a good working relationship with Schneider. So just to get the ball rolling, I've scheduled a meeting online, a Zoom meeting with Ryan Smith from Beacon Court. He's going to be sending out the meeting set up for June 16th at 1:30.
Did you send out a backup or a updated email on that? I know you had sent one out.
No, I just got this from him
Oh,
today.
okay. Two people responded and some
Yeah.
dates weren't working, some,
Right.
some were. Yeah, I did
So
see
this
that.
date should work for most of
When
the
was it?
people. It's June 16th at 1:30. So that's still this week. So that's Thursday.
And department heads, certainly, yeah, as many as we can get involved with that would be.
And one of the things that Ryan said was telling me, and you know, I was thinking it was more for, you know, permitting, you know, with zoning permits, driveway, that type of stuff. But he says basically any department in the county, if there's any forms, any paperwork, all that can be done through this portal.
Well, let's see what the meeting does for everybody and.
Okay. Okay, and then I reached out to Kirkwood Community today just to inquire and get a quote on their online project management and time management courses. Just to get a quote, just
For
for me.
Okay.
I mean, not that I'm, you know, if I can hone some of my skills, because I have a feeling it's gonna be important. Just
see what they say.
they'll see what they say. I'm letting you know I did that. So anyway, I'll be trying to set up a joint meeting with Leisure Lake Property Owners Association with us and try to get Sarah to be part of that. I'll go ahead and call KMAQ and get a meeting set up with them where I can be on their show. And I will call Tills and have them hold that part for us. Okay,
Okay,
Do we have, who knows their logos for us on the door?
does it have to be on the door?
Doesn't it have to be?
Yeah, I know the last one I did, I had I used a company out of Dubuque. And so it was on a Ford Escape, you know, that little like wing window on the back. We did Dubuque County Assessor on that. You can see through it. It's not the, it's, yes, the film, and it looked great. You know, it didn't stand out like a sore thumb, but it did its job, and it wasn't intrusive. And if you go to sell it, it's an easy fix. You wouldn't have the label stains. I can get a picture of that for you guys if you want, if you're
I
interested.
would like
Just
to see
see
what
it.
it looks like.
Okay,
I think it's nice to have the car marked some way, though.
absolute. Oh,
Is
I
most
can
of,
agree with that.
most of our county vehicles all marked the same, like the assessors.
Oh, is that, are they?
They have to be marked.
Yeah, they have.
They have to be marked, and we've done it both ways. A&P has done the marking for us. We've done magnetic signs, and we've done an actual adhesive to the door, maybe at the window or whatever. So I would check with A&P.
Okay, all right, I kind of show you guys what I would, but at the same time, it's just a thought.
That we get that order too, so.
Okay.
We can look it over.
Okay, yeah, and, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
At this time, we'll recess till we start the canvas at 10 o'clock. This time, we'll call the meeting back to order, and it is 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., and it's time for the public hearing on the budget amendment. Shelley, I'll turn that over to you.
Okay, in May, I had a revelation that we were going to be short in a couple departments, so I made, set up a budget amendment for juvenile detention for $2,000. Come to find out, that's still not enough money, but we'll just have to delay it till after July. We just received another $6,200 bill.
Yeah.
For one person.
How much for one person?
$6,200 for the month of May. Yeah. It's like, ouch.
Is this the public hearing?
Yes.
Did you open it?
Yes.
I'll turn this thing off.
I did actually open the public hearing.
And just to be on the safe side, I increased the disbursement to the mental health region by $50,000. I'm assuming that that's gonna be, may give us plenty of money in there, but and then increase the zoning department's budget for the assistance from ECIA. And then increased Marty's, the maintenance department's budget for parking lot for the concrete for parking lot at the senior center, or no, the Haycap building. So, and that would increase our expenses by $77,000.
Okay, the concrete's already been paid for, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it depleted his
You're
budget.
reimbursing
Okay.
his account,
Yes.
his budget
Yes.
line item.
Yes.
So how does his balance look like now? I mean,
Sick.
or ba-
He's got $158, well, wait, $1,158 as of right now. So we need this budget amendment in order to meet payroll.
So this, I mean, honestly, we are coming down to the final funnel of this fiscal year, and we are looking at all of these department budgets and everything. There are some that we will probably hold back claims on, that we cannot pay to make sure that we stay within the budget. I mean, that happens. This isn't unusual. So.
overall, though, we are looking,
Overall, we're in good shape.
yeah, that's what I.
We just
thought.
have some hiccups.
Yeah.
A few pockets.
And
Well,
that's,
and that's normal.
yeah, no,
Yes,
this
yeah.
isn't anything unusual, or, I mean, things happen.
We've
Parking
got a
lots
lot of
need,
things going
I
on.
was gonna say, parking
Yeah.
lots need
Yeah.
concrete, you know, so it's not, this is nothing unusual. This is not out of the ordinary. We still financially, Jackson County is in good shape, you know. And we will be working on taxes, well, probably starting tomorrow, if you really want to know. We'll get done with the election stuff today, and we'll start tomorrow with working on property taxes.
Okay,
If there's not anyone from the public or anyone else have any comments on the public hearing, I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
And second.
we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing on the budget. All those in favor? Aye, motion carried.
So with that being said, then I would need a motion to approve resolution 901-06-14-2022 to the amendment to the county budget for fiscal year 21-22 as recorded in resolution book 5.
So moved.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to approve resolution 901-06-14-2022. All those in favor? Aye, motion carried.
I also need a motion to approve and authorize the chair's signature on the record of hearing and determination on the amendment to the county budget for fiscal year 21-22 and certified to the state of Iowa.
move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
And that concludes the budget hearing.
Thank you very much, Shelley.
Thanks, Shelley.
Thank you for keeping us on our toes. And
This is keeping it
making
real.
us solvent, yeah.
Yeah.
Put it in the right account.
Yeah. You can,
That was a dig.
yeah, we noticed. Okay. Next, we move to the canvas of the primary election.
So, as we all know, last week was the primary election across the state of Iowa. There's a couple of things that we need to talk about that I need to inform you about so that everybody understands. Jackson County does not have any Dominion voting equipment. We just want to make sure that everybody understands our voting equipment is a Unison system, and that's who we bought our machines through. Henry Atkins is our supplier. That's who we buy our ballots from. Our ballots are printed in Missouri and they are shipped here, and those are the ballots that we use on election day. There is across the state of Iowa, there are some counties that are having some issues with the Unison equipment. Once Bjorn and we took a look at the printout that comes out of all of our machines. The machines that are in question, we've been told, I don't know, we are not involved. I am not asking you today for an administrative recount because all of our totals have come out. We have balanced. What has happened in some counties as voters put their ballot in, if it didn't take the ballot, it rejected it. We believe that our motherboard, whatever that means, is 2.2, and the counties that were having some issues were a 1.0. We were not affected on election day as far as the tabulation of our ballots. Every ballot that was cast was also counted. And there are tapes in all of this here that I can show you to prove that. So I am not asking for an administrative recount. We are fine. Everything that as voters voted on election day, every vote was counted and everybody was given a Bjorn does an update. We give everybody a vote credit and that all matches. So that's the good news. So today I'm going to present to you the official state of Iowa abstract of votes and the official canvass of the election for the 2022 primary election. A total of 2,306 voters voted at the polls on election day or via absentee prior to election day. Overall, Jackson County had a 15.73% turnout in 13 precincts and the absentee precinct. This afternoon at 3 o'clock, as all counties across the state of Iowa, we are told we have to do what they call a post-election audit. Some of the counties have already been done, but today the clock ticks. The post-election audit has to be done within 3 days after the canvass. So this afternoon at 3 o'clock, the state selects a precinct in every county in the state of Iowa to be audited. And this is a hand count. I have the same precinct election officials that work the absentee board on Tuesday will come back in this afternoon and they will hand count the 11th precinct, which was selected by the Iowa Secretary of State's office for Jackson County.
Third word.
Yes. Yeah. So everybody, that's the other problem. We're all trying to get used to our new numbering, which caused some confusion, but we're working through it. We've tried to inform our voters, cards went out and we've tried to do some outreach. So that's what the state of Iowa selected for us, the Iowa Secretary of State's. We will be hand counting, I believe it's 56 ballots this afternoon that we will hand count. The Grassley, that race, both on the Democratic and the Republican side, is what needs to be audited. And honestly, I would see no changes. I have plenty of things that need to be signed. We did ask Mike to help us out on election night, so he will understand what I'm going to tell you, but none of our machines, not our voting machines, not our computers, nothing is ever connected to the internet. Everything, it's a very smart, dumb machine. It doesn't transmit anything. You can't walk over to the machine and put a cell phone next to it and jam it or jiggle it or whatever people think. You can't do that to this machine. It's not Bluetooth capable. It's not Wi-Fi capable. So on election night, when the polls close, we send runners out to the precincts to pick up these, what we call TMs. And that way we know that when we upload our results on election night to what they call the ENR, or the election night reporting through the Iowa Secretary of State's office, we know that we have given good data. We don't have any issues because we've gotten the information directly from the machine. There's no election officials calling into the auditor's office at night. We don't do that anymore. And that's why we have envelopes that we have election officials sign, we have the courier sign, we have everything dated, so we have good chain of custody. What they do is they send the TM back with us, and we also have in the envelope where it shows the official results of that night by that machine. And this is what we go by. This is an election summary. This is what the election officials look at. This is what we look at. This is what comes out of that TM. So this is the official summary that comes out of the machine that night. And in this precinct, they also had, it's also called a write-in report. One of the things that people don't understand, this is the write-in tape. When that ballot is put into the scanner to be, tabulated, every one of those ballots where there's a mark, where they've darkened in the mark, that's a write-in vote. We actually have a copy of this is what the ballot looks like with the person's handwriting. So there's no digging at the end of the night through all of these ballots. At the end of the night in the bottom of the black box, we have a copy of it right here. This is kept forever. We buy medical grade tape. This is a medical grade paper, so it doesn't fade. Costs us a little bit more money, but we have this for a very long time. And then we can prove that there were write-in votes, and there were, and as usual, we have people that write in not someone's name.
Mickey Mouse.
Well, it's my understanding, according to, I was on a Zoom meeting yesterday with the Iowa Secretary of State's office. They talked about in Alaska, it sounds like Santa Claus is getting quite a few write-in votes. And that's probably going to be an issue at some point. But he did talk about that yesterday.
He'd have
And
to agree to it though, wouldn't he?
So there's all kinds of reports that we have election officials file or, sign, and they're signing a lot of things. And the first thing in the morning, they sign a zeros report. At the end of the night, they sign the election summary report. They sign the write-in report. They sign, that they've given us this information. This is actually, every precinct gets a tally envelope, and inside, this is a forever document. We do not ever get rid of these. This is, this is one reason why we cleaned the basement out. All of these clear toast that you saw, if you've been down to the basement, if you've looked at what was the old junk room, it's not the new junk room, it's the old junk room. We have these from many years ago. We have to keep these. And that was why it was important to us to get the room cleaned up, to get these so we can store them correctly. And, we can go back and look at stuff from a long time. So Mike, if you want to look at these, you're more than welcome to. Every precinct has every one of those. You'll have a zeros report, a write-in report, an election summary report. And, so that's what we deal with. So today then, these are the reports that I need to have you sign so I can forward them on to the state of Iowa. So today I would need a motion to approve and authorize the board signing the official state of Iowa abstract of votes and the official canvass of the election for the June 7th, 2022 primary election, showing who received the most votes as follows. And I do have this all typed out. If you'd like me to read this, I'd be more than happy to. It is a little bit lengthy, but I would do it if you'd like.
Not necessary, if we can, take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say this, stopping at the 3 precincts that I stopped at, you have a group of dedicated, responsible workers.
I actually had 42 dedicated, responsible workers this election.
And they take it very serious.
Yes, they do. And they're supposed to, because this is a very serious matter.
It didn't
And
matter
I-
who
and
I
I
was or
schooled
what
them.
it was, picking them up, but them things were put in there, they were sealed tight, they were put in another. What was it? Then it was zip tied, it was zip tied shut, and then I was timed from the time I left until I got to the next stop. And actually, I would text Lisa, and so
Yeah.
that would be we had a tracking device that way.
We know what the chain of custody
Whatever I
is.
left or when I got there.
We do not leave.
You didn't
We-
stop anywhere for a beer.
No,
Well,
until I went home.
because Mike was one of our, what we call runners, what we asked Mike to do is to pick up the scanner. So the scanner, the TM that was inside, the scanner, and all of the reports in a sealed envelope in a bag, that was zip tie. And so we do all of that for a reason. And, we take that very seriously. Everything was returned. We had our last delivery at 10:30 on, actually, I thought that was pretty good. If you think of Kohl's closing at 8 o'clock, we had our last delivery at 10:30. All of our equipment, the computers, the scanners, the ballots, everything came back on Tuesday night. It worked really well. It's a very well-oiled machine. We have a couple of rusty spots. We're gonna throw some more oil on it, but for the most part, it works really well. We have people that deliver equipment. We have people that pick up equipment. We have Mike be a runner along with a couple of other runners. We have dedicated employees. Honestly, if it takes a village to raise a child, it takes an entire city to conduct an election. And honestly, I can't do it alone. And so, when it comes to our office, I can't say enough about Danielle Bickford, Mary Stickley, Shelley Hoy, Bjorn Beck, and Becky Chapin. This is the roots of elections in Jackson County. And not only is it a well-oiled machine out in the precincts, but it's a well-oiled machine in the office. And for that, I am very grateful.
And as are the citizens of Jackson County.
So I just need that motion.
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
And with that, I think that takes care of the canvas. I have nothing else for the board.
Okay. We will have our next item and then at the
And
end,
then
we will
the
do our
sign.
signing.
Yes.
Looks like we're gonna wear out a pen.
Yeah. And I will move away. Actually, some of the stuff says it has to be a wet ink. It has to be a wet ink signature.
Does it have to be blue?
It doesn't say that.
A lot of places do different things. They
Yeah.
require blue, because black, it looks like it's cold.
It just says wet ink.
Okay, at this time, we're gonna be joined by Mike Griffin and Bruce Fisher and some other people to talk about clean energy. Good morning.
Morning, thanks for having us, guys.
Good to see you. We're gonna tag team this, so I'll move out after I introduce it, but I want to thank you guys for thinking ahead.
Somebody can come up here and sit by Nancy, and then there's a seat between.
Anyhow, we just want to thank you guys for being farsighted enough to kick in money for that grant. You didn't kick it all in. We have the results here today, and then there's a little bit of a change. And do you have it up on your notebooks or whatever? We're gonna talk about chapter 5, Jackson
I
County.
see.
Feasible-
I opened 174 pages, I believe.
Your main effort is gonna be chapter 5, which starts.
Skimmed a little bit, but I
on
didn't
9.
identify every.
If you don't have a copy, I do have an extra copy.
I've got.
Is there a
this
copy
is
in
on
there?
you.
She didn't read it.
Courthouse
Okay.
section is in your packet.
I've got it up on my computer, but if you did have your notebooks
I do
open, you
not
can
have
just
it.
open to chapter 5, and that's what we're gonna be talking about. You guys kicked in money for the total grant, which included a bunch of other stuff, but this is the stuff that we talked to you about on the Jackson County Energy District, what, on your county buildings there. All right, so that group of grad students, they presented, and I'm sure you guys went to at least, they had what, 7 or 8 presentations here in town at the end. Okay, so they did the major deal, but the ones that I'd like to call your attention to, they're all good. But what you guys asked us to do was to concentrate on the courthouse, the jail, and the Sebula campground. So they put a little extra time into those. Yeah, I guess that starts out at the right page. You can't get lost, Mike.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna quit. Bruce is gonna go through the findings here with it, and then we're gonna chip back and forth, and then Megan knows all about that, what you guys have down is that engineering grant.
Okay.
All right, so as you may know, there were 93 parcels county-owned buildings or facilities that were initially explored for the option of solar. Of that, there proved to be 13 sites that were legitimate. Due to either the roof orientation or shade or something of that nature, a number of sites were disqualified because it didn't make good sense to us. The 13 sites, we have extensive data on here. We're going to really spend most of our time talking about the 3 that Mike had mentioned. And then if you have interest in exploring some other conversations, we can do that as well. If you are following along, chapter 5 is where you want to start, and I'm going to go right into what is paginated as page 30, which gives you a very quick kind of a thumbnail sketch of every one of the 13 buildings that we explored, along with some data associated with each of those buildings. And just to give you a sense for what these columns mean very quickly, you have the name of the operation, the name of the location. System size is the estimate based, yes.
So I guess as I'm looking down here briefly, so the care facility did not meet the requirements or the
Apparently not,
specifications?
apparently
Really?
not. I don't know why that would be the case.
Some of it has to do with whether there was enough light there, Mike, or what utility that particular place was. That killed some of your shops.
Okay.
Because the ones that really paid back were the ones that were on Alliance and Mid-America.
Yeah, I understand that.
So the system size is an estimate of the approximate size of the solar array you would need to achieve about 100% of utilization in terms of each of those locations. They do vary dramatically from a tiny little site at Prairie Creek, which would be not bigger than probably a 10 by 10 array, to the county jail and the campground would be much more significant. 100 kilowatt arrays would be bigger than the Hurstville array, which was around 70, I believe. So these would be significant efforts. In some cases, like if you have something in the city and the jail would qualify as that, you are limited in terms of how much solar you can put on. I think it's 100 kilowatts. So you can't quite cover 100% in Macokota, but you can come close to it. And we'll talk more about that dynamic. The price per watt, we're giving you a range here. The top number is kind of the max you're going to pay, $2.53 a watt. You might recall at Hurstville, I think the proposal we accepted was $1.50 a watt. This is way over that. This is not. This would be an extremely conservative estimate of cost. But we wanted to give you the worst case scenario, which that one would be, because solar is increasing due to supply chain and other issues. So I doubt we're going to get $1.50 today, though. We'll see what you can possibly get. The second number there, the $1.80, it represents a calculation that includes grant dollars. There are a couple grants that we are available to look at as public entities or non-government or not-for-profit organizations. So that would be a much more competitive approach, of course, and we'll talk more about those grants as we get through the process. System cost, this is the budgeted amount you would need to expend to acquire that array, all labor and materials included, along with the 25-year warranty.
But of course, you guys would have to go out and make a contract with an installer. That gives you the basic cost of what it would be, just like any engineering deal. But then when you finally make the contract with the installer, it could be significantly cheaper than that, or could be over.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be over.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely it's going to come in a little under, would be our hope. But all of these numbers would and should be validated by through the RFP process and getting the actual installers to commit to a price and all of that. The payback period is a tricky one here. And first thing I want to, I guess, apologize on behalf of the students for an error. The very first number under Penrose Act Annex, you might have seen those numbers don't look right at all. They're wrong. Those in the paybacks are 15 and 11 years respectively. We'll correct a report for you, by the way, at some point in the near future. The rest of these numbers for payback periods should be viewed with skepticism. I'm not convinced that these are accurate. We want to have time to go through and double check the work of the students. I think at best case, this is your most aggressive payback period. Best case scenario. In my own experience, and Mike would account for this too, these are paybacks you might get on an alliance system, but you're not going to get this on a rural electric co-op or even in a Wacoma utility probably. So we have other payback estimates in this deck, which I will show you, which I feel are much more realistic. And I don't want to mislead you with a payback in 5 or 8 years when it could be 10 or 15. So again, we'll validate those numbers for you as we go forward, but I just want to make sure that you're aware that there are some potential issues with this column of data.
But every installer always gives you that anyway. It's because they have to do it because they got to bid the project or whatever, and they'll tell you what your payback is on current rates and stuff.
Yep, and you would get that in a proposal for sure. Lifetime cost avoided, this is accurate. This is how much money you would save in dollars you would otherwise have spent on energy. And that is over the 25-year warranted life of the system. Now, acknowledge that 25 years is the warranted life. They're guaranteeing it has a certain level of productivity through that, but these systems continue to produce very productively up into 40 years. So this is an extremely conservative estimate, and you're going to continue to accrue great savings from 25 to 40 years, which are not incorporated into this. And then you have an estimate of your per year return for these various systems. So really, I don't want to get into the numbers right now on a specific case by case, but I want to give you the capability to read the table on your own when we're done. Okay.
So what this payback period, does that include interest on that money?
One of these calculations does and one of them does not.
Okay.
Yep. So great question. Yeah. And when I talk about most aggressive, that first one, not including interest. I don't think. Okay, so there are a couple different ways that they calculate solar potential, and which has impact, of course, on your ROI and your payback periods. And we have two different methods of calculation. The data are presented in two different formats here for you. I've already shown you the one format, the tabular format, which is the one that I say be careful about. Go on to page 34 and you'll see the beginning of the analysis specific to the county jail. As you may recall, we estimated electricity usage for the county jail based on the data we received from Manchester. We've taken their county jail, made assumptions that the layout, the utilization, and energy usage is going to be pretty similar. Based on that, you can see roughly how much usage you can project kilowatts per month, and the base load we're projecting that you would want to have for the system, the solar array. And then if you look down to the estimated avoided electricity cost, here is another way to look at your payback. Those two gray bars that are coming across there, that's your payback period. This would be your most conservative estimate. The first case we saw the most aggressive, and I think probably unrealistic. Here we're saying a very conservative estimate. So on the jail, if we get a grant, you're looking at about a 9-year payback, 9 and some months. If we didn't get a grant, you're looking at 14 years roughly, far less, I would say, positive return. Nonetheless, you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of the investment. The site itself is very well suited to solar, and it looks like if the building layout is somewhat similar to Manchester, it would be as well. If I remember right, it only covers about 30% of the roof. So you've got a lot of roof to work with there with your air conditioning and all that up there. It shouldn't be a problem in terms of practical engineering matters. Any questions on the jail? There's a picture of the Manchester model below on the next page.
So in Manchester, the solar panels are on the roof?
They don't have solar in Manchester.
Oh,
No,
okay.
we are strictly using the building as a basis to estimate your use of electricity and whether a building of this nature would be appropriate for a solar array on the roof.
It's because we didn't have the history of how much energy you were going to use. So they said, well, this is a similar building. So they used their energy and then said this would go on the roof.
Okay.
Okay. You can see on page 36, there's a table with similar numbers that were in the original table. They just broke it out differently with the system cost and percent and all that. Again, these payback periods, I would circle that column every time and say, I'm not sure I'm going to believe these numbers. Let's let these guys work it out and make sure that this is going to be right for us. But these are the same numbers you saw in that original table that I went through. They just formatted a little differently for you. So the JO is a pretty good business case to it. I think it makes sense if you're looking at somewhere around a 10 to 4, well, probably an 8 to 14 year payback. saving a lot of money and reducing the carbon footprint as well. If we go on to Sebula, it's a little trickier, and the case is not as quite as promising because of a couple scenarios. Number one, you've got a ton of shade there you're working with. Number two, you've got a floodplain you're working with. And practically speaking, the most appropriate model might be also the most expensive model, which is a floating array in the lower lake of Sebula. That there are systems out there that do this effectively, would very likely withstand any floods that would occur. It was hard to get a good cost for that right now, to be honest with you. The systems are pretty rare, and we would be on the cutting edge, certainly in Iowa, the system of this nature. But we would be happy to explore that in further detail with the appropriate potential installer to see what they might consider. You can see, of course, the widely variable usage in electrical, and that we're just not using it for most of the year. So unless you're able to arrange some kind of a partnership with the city of Sebula to enable them to leverage the solar array in the community at large, this is not a great case because you're not using solar for most of the year, frankly. So that's why the numbers are looking far less encouraging. You can see the payback there ranges from about 20 years to about 13, 14 years. Not that promising. And quite honestly, if you're looking at the kind of array we talked about, just floating in the lake, it's probably going to be more expensive. Hate to deliver the bad news on that one. It's not, I don't say a knockout, but we need to look for other mechanisms to fund it. Maybe something like we do with Hurstville. If we can get another fundraising mechanism to support that effort on behalf of Jackson County Conservation, then it could start to make sense. But right now, I think it's a go slow to a no-go, quite honestly.
Except the grad students did say if you could partner with City of Sebula and put it on their ground where it would be feasible, and the county conservation board or Jackson County would fund it, then you make a deal and say, okay, well, you get all the extra electricity from this for your municipal deal or whatever. You could make a trade, but that would be negotiations you guys would have to do.
That way you could put it on dry land instead.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on that at this point before I move quickly on? Okay. Next up, we have, if we continue on to page 41, the courthouse. Courthouse business case looks pretty good. The only question we have is really, we need an engineering study, or we need probably the potential installer to study whether this roof can in fact withstand the weight. I know there was concern expressed by one of your engineers, I believe, that this was not an ideal setup because of the load bearing status. At least we thought we heard that.
I think that was from maintenance, not an engineer.
Okay, maintenance, maybe that was it then. In any case, this is deserving of more study, and I would venture that your potential installers would assess this before they'd even put forth their quotes, and you can get an idea then whether it's going to make sense or not. But there are some special grants available to kind of community-based buildings, and whether the courthouse qualifies as a community-based building or a county building, we could probably debate a little bit. But you could really get some nice additional funding potentially for this project, as we will explore when we look at some of the grants coming up a little bit later. Okay.
And one of the things that we've been working with the installers here that have been working in Jackson County when we ran that grow solar. But when you put a roof mount in, it's a lot better to put it on a new roof. And it helps the insurance company even know that shading that roof makes it last longer. But it's not a good feasibility to say, oh, I've been thinking about replacing the roof, but I'm going to put solar on top of it, because then you got to tear it all off, put down your new roof, and then put the solar back on. So if you were thinking about replacing the roof, then it makes a lot more sense. But it would just depend on how old your roof is and how many years it's got left, whether it's a good idea to put solar on top of an old roof.
That makes sense.
So they do some, it's a parking lot cover too.
Oh, yeah, that's a very popular method.
And it would be nice today, I would have parked right there.
Absolutely. So if you fast forward to page 44, you'll see a couple potential grant opportunities. And both of these have been vetted by the students, but also advised and recommended by the local installers who we've worked closely with. The Hammond Moonshot Grant is one that you would absolutely be eligible for. It's a 25 grand grant, up to a 25 grand grant. With the numbers that we're talking about, with the arrays and the buildings we've discussed, you'd be eligible for the full 25. So this is one that I think we'd be very optimistic about you achieving. And as we'll talk in a little bit, we'll be happy to help you, in any way we can, fill out the grant and do all that you need to do on the legwork side of things. The community facilities and direct loan and grant program is a little more restrictive and a little more specific. It's only for small towns less than 20,000 people. And it's generally, I think, used to impact community facilities. I'm not sure under the letter of the grant law whether this qualifies as a community facility or not, or whether the jail does or not. County versus community, they don't distinguish. So we'd have to look at that. And that's work we're going to be doing in the very near future. Because what we hope to do is to stay with you on this journey and just not throw a report at you and say good luck and figure out these things.
Well, obviously, our county is less than 20,000 too.
It is. So it's just how they define a community. That's what we need to look at.
Yeah.
Ideally, we could get both of these grants and, look at offsetting maybe as much as $40,000-$50,000.
I don't see a number in that other grant.
I there is a max, but I don't know what it is, but I think it's 25 or more.
Is a jail a community building? I don't know. I would say, part of it, the operation, depends on if you spend time there, right? So I would say at least your emergency operations center is certainly a community spot.
That's right.
It's an operations center, but.
Well, this is something we need to
I'm not
dig
gonna
into.
spend time there. Just-
And as the energy district, we just want to help you guys any way that we can. So if you have ideas like this or whatever, we think this is a good idea. It's a way of the future and stuff. And it'll help us economically, it'll help us sustainability, and those are our goals, is to make local power and make it sustainable. And we want to help you guys in that stuff. So if we can be of any use to you, that's what we want to do. And especially figuring out those grants or something like that, we would be willing to help.
That's exactly right. I think that we would feel privileged to offer you pro bono consulting around these decisions you're going to make and any work that needs to be done. We can help write an RFP. We can help pre-qualify installers. We can write these grants for you. And aside from the two grants we just mentioned, by the way, Megan has let me know that WPPI also has a grant that is available for up to 50% of a project cost. You might recall that was employed for the Y. We could very well be eligible for a grant like that. That's a very competitive grant, and the other two are not quite so much. But you could knock 50% out, and those numbers were not included into these numbers. So again,
when listening to this, there's a lot of very unknowns.
Oh,
that we
absolutely.
don't know.
that's right.
And to stick your neck out to either get cut off or shaved.
Well, you'd have to do it just like anything else, so Mike, you'd have to put it out for a request for proposals,
Sure.
and then you'll get some real
Yeah,
numbers.
you're
But,
not, you didn't lose any skin on if you didn't, yeah.
Absolutely right. We would,
I mean, I could see the payback, if the payback is close, it's a hard number to throw out, throw it out there, but again.
Yeah.
If it's feasible and, you're talking a lot of.
And even the residential installs that
You're talking to whoever,
the residential installs that we've helped with, the proposal comes with a payback on it. It'll tell you, and it can do it, like on my house, they can take my last 10 years of energy use, so they know what I'm using. And then they say, this is what we're going to sell it to you for, and your payback on my particular residential, it's 5.5 years. But I got two bids. One was 5.5 and the other one was almost 9. So there's quite a
Yeah.
So
difference.
the
there.
thing that we need would be the real dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in order for us to make a decision, how much would it initially cost and how much is it gonna save?
Right,
yeah.
And
So I
if we
would,
have to, go out for bid for somebody, to give us those figures, I mean, I can't do it on this.
No,
no,
we don't, we're not trying to encourage.
I know you're not.
Yeah, but
But I just think that I see, I realize it is the wave of the future. And since we're under construction at the present time, if we can find out a way that it's gonna be cost effective for us, I think we should at least attempt to get some figures.
I agree.
Well, you have, and I hope that this will be of value to you, but you have the whole energy district working behind you on this. We will write this RFP for you if you want. Of course, you have to have approved by your legal.
Sure.
We will go out and recruit your installers to respond to the RFP. We will explore some of the grant opportunities, get a sense for whether we qualify or not, and what are the odds of getting it, competitive versus not. All of these are decisions or actions we would need to take, or you would need to take before you would make a decision, because only then do you have all the information that you would, I think, be obligated to.
And that
to
can all
consider.
get thrown right out the window if it comes in way high and the payback isn't anywhere near what we were considering. Just like you do on a bridge, your engineer gives you, I think this is gonna cost $2.5 million or whatever. When you put it out for contract or something, it comes in at 7, and you say, we're gonna leave the old bridge.
And I guess the part about the parking lot that we park under, I kind of like that idea. Does other people does the community like the idea? They like to see it? Do they want to see that if they drive by? I guess I don't know. I mean, again, it's something that you almost have to talk to the construction guy or the construction manager and say, is this even possible?
A parking lot structure would dramatically increase your cost. Probably 50%.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, but you're looking at other amenities available to the community then, but is there a value to that at that level?
So, and I looked at it at my place too, Griff, and it just didn't make sense,
No.
what McCoven Valley is.
I'm coconut about it. I pay back 13 years.
I didn't pursue it with he got a copy of my invoices or whatever, but then he did a study.
Right.
But unless I include either the new building.
And that's why a lot of your county shops dropped off of the thing, because they don't have the net metering, which is the.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess we appreciate you coming in. We will certainly review this and discuss it and see what our next step needs to be.
And now we
I
have
just have
the,
very brief,
Okay,
kind
That's
of more
fine.
of a reminder, when we met with the students and WPPI and Chris Krogman last summer, all three of you
yeah.
were there.
Mhm.
WPPI, Tom Westhoff talked about this program. So this is available to all of the MMEU area for any new construction projects. So I guess I don't know the exact phase of the jail that you're in. But
It's still
this,
leveled around.
yes,
It's
so
been bladed, but
this
they're
project,
going
this
up, yeah.
program, which if you apply, you can get into the program, gives you the opportunity where WPPI pays for a design team to look at your plans and give you ideas on more energy efficient ways to build the building and to have lighting, things like that. And if you implement those things that they show you, there's also financial incentives to make them happen. So it's a simple application, and I can get you in touch with Tom again and he can explain it more, but it seems like a very good program to get into for the jail. Because if you're looking at solar, one way to make your solar installation cheaper is to lower your energy usage because you don't need as big of an array. So this comes into play for lowering your energy usage right off the bat. And again, WPPI pays for all of it, the engineer, the design team to look at everything, and they work with your contractor and your architect to do that.
Is it true, Megan, they'll pay up to $35,000 for those improvements or something?
I
like that?
don't have that number, but Tom would be able to.
I think that's a number I remember, but I could be wrong.
So for instance, if the design team looked at your lighting, they say maybe you should implement this for more energy savings. Potentially WPPI would pay for the lighting change for you.
I think that'd be worth.
So
looking
even
into,
just
sure.
to apply and see what they can do for you, might be something that you want to look into for the jail.
Absolutely.
And again, we really don't understand or appreciate what your workload is like and what your staffing is like to support you in these areas, but if you need help filling out the application, we're here for you. We
It's just the
want to help.
2-page, yeah.
That's kind of free money. I would sure take a look at it.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
We'll be back in touch.
You didn't buy anything for Amazon.
Just that. I needed nothing more.
Okay.
Thank you.
Carol,
Yeah, if, which. Yeah, I can send you the full doc. That'd be great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask him.
Okay, any work sessions or work boards that anybody needs to report on?
We had our sub-traditional, but I mean, it's pretty, everything's looking good there. Federal government's actually paying us. Had to rattle a few cages and get some money coming. But they're working on it. It's working better, put it that way. They seem to be hundreds of thousands behind on payments, like the medical payments.
Okay, I met with workforce. We had a meeting down in Muscatine. I ended up not going to the meeting in Marshalltown since I was going to Des Moines the next day, and it had been in West Burlington the day before. I thought, no, I'm not, but we did meet with Cirrus, the provider of our services, and we also met with fiscal officer, which is the correctional, children's correctional facility in Eldora. They're starting to do the financials, and it was a really great meeting. I think that we had been having some issues with our last fiscal agent, and I think this is going to be a much better fit for us. And when the management of the workforce development would ask questions, they says, well, that's how we do it now. And Miranda was very happy to find out that they could do things the way we wanted to have them done, where the other ones never really did agree with us. So, and then the Department of Human Service Council meeting on Thursday was very, very busy, and we're still in the process of the Department of Health and the Department of Human Services merging into the Department of Health and Human Service. But both of the directors of programs are wonderful. I mean, I'm really amazed at everything that they're capable of doing and all the changes and helping us work through that. We still don't know exactly how the new board will be, because right now there's a Board of Health and there's a Board of Human Services, and they seem to think maybe that board will somehow merge, but they haven't kind of given us any ideas how that merger might affect those of us that are current on the council or the health board. But there's always lots of stuff to discuss. It's a very interesting board to serve on.
I did talk with Nate about that fence down at the Ball Diamond Fairgrounds. And they were gonna go out, Jeannie's done that build a lot of those, they're gonna get a material list for us, a couple different scenarios of what we could put out there, give us an idea.
To stop the drivers from driving through.
I don't know if the city of Macocata or somebody, but there's electrical poles all the way around it, and that big
Really?
square, was that a railroad tie or something? It's gone. It's not there.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was Sunday.
Maybe they already went.
I don't know, but I mean,
It looks pretty good then.
it does right now. It looks,
Oh.
but that can change. That was as of Sunday when I drove down there. So yes, I don't know who took away that big
Yeah.
6x6 or whatever. Maybe it was 8x8, I don't
Yeah,
know.
Martin kind of talked about that, but.
Yeah, so,
And then we all got this notice about the button entry for the Head Start and New View or HACAP building.
yeah.
And we understand that they want to put the buttons to get button entry. But HACAP, according to this, is going to pay for the equipment and the installation. But only Marty would have to maybe repair it if something happens. Isn't that the way we read it this morning?
Well, they talked about maintenance, installation and maintenance.
You mean for like a fob thing?
I assume so.
I mean, we don't have hardly any maintenance on our share. do we?
No, but
Yeah.
the cost should all be incurred by HACAP.
I would agree to that.
Yeah.
Did you make contact with Alex as far as penning?
Yep.
Survey
Been
pins
down there, I think.
I know he had sent an email looking for some information or some,
And I sent him,
yeah.
I found a survey of that area and DOT's easement, so I sent those both to him.
So
I thought he was gonna go down there on Thursday or Friday last week, but I'm not.
I was thinking somebody said he was gonna be here.
Yeah,
we need to have that probably being placed on the agenda in the future so that we can either make it says along with GIS, I suppose, too. I don't know if anybody had the opportunity to talk to Luck at all about negotiating or anything like that.
no, yeah.
But do we need as a board to go down to the interpreter, to the welcome center and just, because when they had I sat in on their meeting last week and they talked about the furnishings and stuff that are currently there and some of the other stuff. Because they said what would they do with it? And I basically told them if it had been donated to the welcome center, like we know the bell was, that would have to go back to whoever the donor was if they wanted it. If they didn't want it, then we felt it was the property of Jackson County and not the property of the Tourism Association, because they're an entity under us. So I think that maybe we need to go down, or maybe individually, but if we could all go down at the same time and check it out and see exactly what is there.
Well,
Because
I
if we
guess-
are gonna, in fact, put it up for sale or auction it off or whatever we're gonna do, we need to know what we need to get rid of. And we do know that the bugs are gone.
well, they're going for a period,
Yeah,
again, if we carry this on and on and on. I did go down there, so I
know
guess
you did.
my thought is if whoever wants to go down and look, just to go down and look, because there's school desks and such, and I guess you could take an inventory or a list, maybe, and make a list. But
Because the
we have to have a public
society
meeting
would
we all
be-
go at the same time, basically.
Well, we could do that. We could publish that we're going to do it. So I guess it's up to you. If you want to do it individually, I'm fine with that. If we want to do it as a group, I'm fine with that.
I think it's easier if we do it individually on our own time,
Okay.
free time, whatever it is. If it's
And do we have a
evening.
time frame that we want to do it? I would think we would want to do it fairly soon.
I think so too. If we can find out from Alex if he has placed the pins, or when do you think he would have it, just so we know. We
Yes.
probably need to proceed with that sooner than later.
Okay. Why don't we all see if we can get there before next Tuesday?
Okay.
So that we can see and I'll try to write down what's in the building as far as,
And somebody should probably contact Tom and say, for him to go and see what they think is theirs, or what they intend to take out of there for supplies or whatever.
well, I think we kind of discussed that at the tourism meeting,
Okay.
that it was going to be cleaned out, so.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the board today?
Just 911, you probably seen some of them emails that were forwarded to you about the tower and the
Yep,
variance
yep.
and, I guess we're working through it. Basically with the city and as far as the building inspector or whatever it is that needs to, if we need to go that tall, and what happens in the future when the trees grow and we don't have
Okay,
a
the
clear
oth-
line of sight.
the other thing is, I did get an email we all got an email from Becky that she did have a couple people apply for the cleaning position.
Yeah, is she coming down to discuss that today? or-
But
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware.
she's gonna hold it open for a while because she would like some additional applicants. But have we heard anything more about anybody applying for the engineering position?
I don't know. She was gone last week, so I don't know.
She sent an email as far as an interview on a candidate.
Yeah,
She was trying to set up a time frame, so I don't know if she got anything done with that.
was that for the assistant or the engineer?
Engineer.
That was Alex. He's in a meeting. We'll call back.
Okay,
So I would touch base with, she probably said, maybe she already did, I don't know, if just have an updated email or. It's gonna get a time frame that everybody would be available, us three would be available, and Todd and the applicant.
okay. Is there any other business to come before our meeting today other than a lot of signing?
That's right.
If no further business, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting as presented. Okay, all those in favor?
All right.
Aye, motion carried.